Objection, expensive. What to answer, how to handle it, how to keep the client in the dialogue and make them feel after your PC was a 3 to 5 minute handling that it was even awkward to ask that question. You probably know that feeling when you decided to bargain and then you're like, oh, this is kind of awkward. Forgive me, I probably asked something unnecessary. That would be cool. That would be top notch. The client says to you, thank you, Vladimir. Well, for example, here's a microphone. How much does the microphone cost? For example, 30,000 rubles. Listen, well, that's expensive. There are a number of responses. The range of these responses is divided into two parts. First, questions and handling objections. Second, argumentation and questions. Once again, start with questions. More understanding about the situation, why he says expensive. And then we handle objections. You just heard the second part. I will start with the first, continue with the second. My principle is to mostly work through questions. At the same time, it often works to immediately throw in an argument that is logical. For example, they tell me, Vladimir, I offer two options, 30,000 rubles. Well, that's a bit expensive. Got it, understood. Tell me, what price would you like to fit into? Tell me as it is. And then the chain will continue. Well, for example, they tell me, well, I was expecting 20,000 rubles. Listen, well, 20,000 is already a more or less reasonable budget. By the way, did you want this brand or to look at other options? Therefore, the first path to go into alternatives that we already have. This is called a downsell, but I am more for an upsell. A downsell tool is, okay, that's saying, so, well, it says we have options. Listen, the only thing is it doesn't have built-in something like noise cancellation or something else. And the brand, you know, is not quite factory China, but you know, it's well known. And we have direct supplies, so I can say that we definitely have a warranty. How do you like this option? Let's try, let's listen. I say this and know that he most likely won't like it. You know, like in El Dorado stores or somewhere else. They have products that they offer right away, which have a high markup, an unclear brand, and no one wants to buy them, but they are cheaper. They immediately start switching it. You're like, oh my gosh, no way, I'd rather take it for 30. The expensive strategy was created for this. Point number one, remembered. Now the second. We take a different path into argumentation. Vladimir, listen, well, it's a bit expensive, but this is a real brand, or like, but this is a direct supply, but this is the original Vladimir. The original, well, let's say, I don't know, if you monitor somewhere, there is a difference of 500 or 1,000 rubles, depending on the exchange rate, who bought it. We have a music store, we only deal with originals. By the way, what's your goal? Are you looking for your personal studio, right? You see, I explained right away, provided an argument, and moved to a question. Reverse options, both. Another example, Vladimir, expensive. 30,000 rubles is quite expensive. You can go into depreciation support, like you're right to pay attention to the price, and then suggest what I'm about to say. And you can you can skip these unnecessary courtesies and say, Vladimir, you know, from my perspective. When people buy something expensive and original, like here, they usually don't buy it for a couple of months, but usually for 5-15 years. Well, this is equipment that will work for 15 to 20 years. Well, in my opinion, even longer. You know, like those Soviet tape recorders that also work hard, which are made very, very well. Or Japanese ones, you know that quality. What did I just do? I increased the lifespan, compared it with something hard to argue with, like Soviet or Japanese. You decide. And then you can add and say, by the way, if you just divide it over 15 years, what do we get? 30,000 rubles. Well, you see 2,000 rubles a year or a month. Well, overall, it turns out quite nicely. What do you think? 100 and some change, 100 rubles, let's say, even if we roughly round it, 140 rubles a month. I think it's worth for the best equipment. By the way, this is sure, it's number one in this field. Here we have finished. More options, we can simply work with investments in the future. I really love this technique because it is absolutely reasonable. I remember buying a monitor in Dubai at an official Apple store. It cost, I think, 200,000 rubles and something. So big, you know, one of those, well, I don't remember, 200 or 300. Well, it was some kind of normal price, some top model. And I'm looking, hesitating, like, do I need it or not? But it's just that it's my second one. I already have one. but now I need to make a presentation, you know, like in the movie, looking around like this, moving pictures for the presentation, for speeches. And the salesperson very carefully asked me through questions saying, tell me, what do you need it for? I said, well, I have one monitor and I'm thinking if I need a second one. He said, I see, got it. He could have said something to praise me like, oh, cool. Are you a designer or do you teach something? He didn't go into that. He just asked the second question. And what do you plan to use the second one for? I said, well, I want it to be convenient for working with presentations. And he replies, listen, cool, it will really be fantastically convenient. You just expand your field of view and you'll see more. Well, great. That's about all he said. Makshinov said it even longer. He said it even shorter. And he said it so sincerely, like, bro, you're so lucky. You'll see the whole world on 3 monitors, man. Bro, I'm so jealous. Well, that was roughly the idea. I look at him, at the monitor, and I do have the money. I think, wow, I'm really lucky. I can buy myself a monitor. And I wrapped the monitor with this Dubai plug, took it and flew away. I still didn't know how to check it in as luggage at the airport. I don't remember. I somehow tried to carry it as hand luggage, but I think it didn't work. But anyway, the monitor was intact. Everything was fine. Then my son broke it. But that's another story. So friends, we are working on expensive through 2 roads. Question, question, answer, argumentation, or immediately argumentation. And while the client answers your question, you ask them a clarifying question and then another second argument. Just remember, if you want to pressure the client with memorized arguments working on expensive without understanding why they say this microphone is expensive at 30,000 rubles, then you're lost. The likelihood of losing is very high when the client hangs up or leaves. Because actually, I just discussed everything and it didn't work out because 30,000 is expensive. Since he was just approved for a loan of 27,000 rubles. He really needs to fit within 27 and he simply can't. So you just didn't mention the installment plan. Or indeed, an alternative microphone with a connection cord for 22,000 rubles would suit him well. You just need to understand the life situation and then decide which path to take in terms of future investment, price breakdown, price range, comparison range, more expensive product, cheaper. You will choose. Work on expensive and don't be aggressive because there are 2 types of clients. Some genuinely lack money while others just want to bargain. And trust my experience, there are significantly more people who just want to bargain. This means you just need to present these answers, this information correctly, so they enjoy communicating with you.